Good evening, welcome back to Evermore YouTube channel and podcast. It's Mark and Chris back on a Monday night, 9:30, asking the same question we ask every Monday night. What's going on? I'll tell you what's going on. Newcastle United aren't playing football in the Premier League. We're all a little bit lost, but secretly a little bit happy as well, given the way the Premier League has gone. But they're on international duty. But me and Mark have got plenty to talk about, all Newcastle related, and a little bit of Out of Toon as well. So what's going on with you, Mark? How are you doing?
I've been released by the international side, so I'm now back at my club. So along with every other player going, I think it's ridiculous the number of players that have suddenly found injuries. I'm not so sure.
It's terrible, honestly. I can't believe that you and Tony, the taxi driver from Wallsend, were released from the 468-man England squad. I think it's an absolute travesty. You and Aaron Ramsdale, we'll get into that in a second as well. We are live tonight, as always. Jump in the comments, guys, as always. We'll get through everything that we can. You guys throw a few comments in there. Help us steer the ship on a Monday night. There is actually a complete category tonight inspired by one of the viewers. Big shout out to Martin, which we'll get into in a second. But yeah, jump in and give us your comments, guys. Remember to like and subscribe. Help get us to the next milestone. We are quite close to the 13,000 mark. I think we're only about 40 subscribers away, I think. So if you haven't already, hit that button. Recommend us to family and friends as well. It's all free content evermore. But if you want to be a member and give a little bit back to the channel, then we would love you to do that as well. So let's get started then, Mark. Because I mean, the first place to start really is international mags, really, because the lads are on international duty. You know, they're all around the world. So Eddie Howe's got a good kind of 3 weeks now or something, isn't he, to kind of prepare his team for the return of the Premier League, which is obviously the game against Crystal Palace. So all international mags are kicking around, and we've got a little bit of a roundup. Might as well start with the England lads, because we had was it 6 players in the England squad, which is mad to believe, given how shit we've been this Premier League campaign, and certainly against Sunderland when 6 of your players have joined that squad. But as you rightly said, it's like a 460-man squad as well. There's been some changes to it as of late. But how did the lads fare? Tino Livramento got 90 minutes, didn't he, for England? So let's start with Tino, I suppose. How did Tino fare the other night, mate?
Yeah, I think that when you mentioned the 6 ads, bear in mind that given the number of goals that Newcastle have conceded since January, there were three defenders and a goalkeeper called up for England, and one of the worst defending performing teams go. Anyway, that's by the by. Tino was... I don't think he was particularly bad. I don't think he was particularly good. There were moments where he looked out of position. We've seen that a fair amount from him. I think he doesn't do very, very well going forward. I think some of the scores online, he was given something like a 7.1, 7.2. Generally, I think statistic wise, he looked okay, but I think on the eye is just it's a performance where you see the flaws that are there with him. So, I mean, what I can't get my head around is one of the absentees from the squad and another player who's been linked with Newcastle. I think we'll come to in his place. But look, it's not a bad performance. I think as a general rule for these games, it's all about sort of getting a view of some of the players together. When you make an awful lot of changes and you throw a lot of players together, it's difficult to kind of get them up and running straight away. So you can kind of be forgiven for some of the little quirks in his play at that point. But yeah, not bad, not great, just somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, which to be fair, you probably described Tino Livramento over the last 12 months, to be brutally honest with you. They just throw injured into that as well, and you probably get a kind of apt description of Tino Livramento. It was good to see Lewis Hall get a little bit of game time as well, obviously coming off the bench for England. It's a big camp for Lewis Hall, isn't it? Because this is the last big camp before the World Cup squad is announced, and he's obviously been mentioned as the kind of the main choice for England starting left back. For me, definitely is. Even if I wasn't a Newcastle fan, I think I'd be saying the same thing. So I mean, he had about half an hour, didn't need to do something. It wasn't a great game the other night where England was obviously a draw. They've got Japan, haven't they? I think, is it tomorrow? They've got Japan.
Yeah.
So I mean, Lewis Hall might get a bit more of a chance to maybe start that game and shine as well. But him and Barnes had about kind of 25 minutes or so. I know Barnes was unlucky, wasn't he? Kind of got his goal pinched off of him, really, wasn't he? But
Robs, yes.
Rob, how did you think the two lads did coming off the bench for England, Hall and Barnes?
I mean, Hall, again, it's that moment of the game, the changes are made. It sort of disrupts the flow a little bit at that point. The game was absolutely dreadful anyway. I mean, I've started to lose my patience with international football. There's too much crap with it. But Hall's, again, I mean, Lewis Hall comes on and he's solid. Again, solid, nothing spectacular from him. He just does the simple things pretty well. But again, coming on in that environment, it's difficult to really make an impact in 21 minutes or whatever it was. And in a game that is so drab, he needs a good start. But ultimately, Lewis Hall is England's starting left back for the World Cup. He has to be.
He's got to be. We've got a super chat in from Coyote saying, best week I've had in ages. No Newcastle playing. It's understandable, mate. It's understandable. But there was another Newcastle player who played international football. He actually played really well. And there was a little bit of a furore about him. I'm going to get into the other side of the furore about a certain Italian stallion. But Sandro Tonali started for Italy. Kel fucking Surprise when we saw him in the starting lineup for Italy, even though he was injured for the derby. Now, he showed the kind of quality against Northern Ireland that Newcastle were lacking in the derby massively when he hit an absolute thunder bastard at the back of the net as they won the game 2-0. Now, they've got Bosnia, I believe, tomorrow night, I think it is. It's tomorrow night, which is the kind of playoff final, isn't it, to get through. But he looked good, Tonali. He was obviously getting goals and assists. He was looking sharp. He was looking, fit and ready for it. And then it all started to come out and everyone was going, what the fuck is going on? Why could this lad not have started the derby or played a part in the derby if he's fit enough to play for Italy and play very, very well? Now, the stories were coming out, and we'll get into the journalists' spat in a minute. But there were stories coming out that apparently Sandro Tonali said he wanted to play for the derby, but he was told he couldn't play, either by the medical team or by the manager. Now, that worked out really well, lads, didn't it? Because he's got him starred for Italy, and we lost that game and were dog shit against Sunderland. I don't think we forgot that. I certainly haven't got over it. I think many people in the chat haven't got over it either. Now, there's two ways to look at it. There's a more logical way that you'll look at it, and then there's a more emotional way that I'll probably look at it. It's not a great optic from the football club, really, when you've served up one of the shittest halves of football this season against your fierce rivals in a game that, if you won it, you could have been back in the European picture, broke off for 3 weeks, sent the fans away in a good vibe feeling after getting absolutely annihilated by Barcelona. That football game against Barcelona second half was the football equivalent of the Simpsons sketch, Stop, he's already dead. That's what that second half was. And they then went out and turned out a cowardly performance against Sunderland. And our best player, arguably at the minute, didn't play because he wasn't right. And then he goes and starts for his country and he's man of the match. And he's doing the business, and we're seeing him getting linked to Man United, and all this noise, and the optics are just stinking, Mark. I mean, am I being too harsh here? Have the club played this right, or have they fucked this up yet again? Where do you stand on the Tonali starting for Italy and not playing in a derby thing?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because look, I get it. I sort of understand you cannot be ready for a game on a weekend and 4 days later be ready for it. It doesn't look great. I agree with you there. You text me during the weekend, it's just the optics of it don't look great. But no, you can pick up a knock that will keep you out for 24, 48, 72 hours or whatever it is between the going off in the Barcelona game and the Sunderland game at the weekend. But then be okay 2 days later. Like I get that side of it. It doesn't look particularly good, but I understand if the club have looked at it, and it'd be the first fucking time as well that the club have looked at a player and gone, yeah, we don't think you're quite right. We're going to hold you back for an injury because they've let every other fucker play.
Yeah.
Botman played through
knees hanging off. Oh, he's all right. Strap him up.
Botman was straight on the phone going, hang on, how come he's getting special treatment? But it's...
Yeah, Joe Litton's asking if we're related. No, do you know what it is, Joe Litton? He's slowly morphing into me. He's wearing glasses. He's wearing the same colour T-shirt. He's just copying my style, mate. That's why I had to put a hoodie on. But thanks for that, mate. We are brothers in arms, mate. Brothers in arms. A band.
Good tune.
But yeah, very good, very good. But no, it is. It's just I'll get into this in a second. We've got an Evermore membership gifted by Prozac. Thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate that. But again, it's just like they're not reading the temperature of the water, are they? Really, it's just such a bad look. It's such a bad look. Like I'd have got it if Lewis Miley had been fit or something like that, or Bruno had been fit and they'd played in the game, and you didn't want to risk Tonali because he wasn't quite right and all that. But it reeks of Michael Owen, Mark II. Reeks of Michael Owen. Couldn't play for Newcastle because he had a fucking his hamstring was pulled or some shit like that when Michael Owen was there. You know, he got a paper cut reading the fucking Racing Post in the dressing room, and he couldn't play for Newcastle in the weekend fixture, but he was fine for England in some pointless game against fucking Yugoslavia where he scored a hat-trick in a 6-0 win, you know, with Emil Heskey up front with him. Like, that's exactly what this smells of. It smells of the lad's more interested in playing for Italy than he is for his club, and the club are scrambling to try and put the fire out and make it look a little bit better. And a lot of people were kind of rallying to the defense, and some people I respect as well, and I like. You know, I've personally met them and spoken to them, and are sound people, and they were saying, "Oh, stop looking for the conspiracy theories." And you know, Keith Downey was kind of jumping to the defense. I don't mind calling Keith out on this one, because I'm not slagging him off, because I got loads of time for Keith. He's a top bloke, silver fox, top bloke. But he was saying, "Oh," he said the same thing you said. He said, "Oh, it is normal to have a knock, you know, on the whatever it is, the weekend, and then be okay midweek." And he said some people need to be angry about something, and I get that, but people are angry, Keith, because the team is playing shit, and when your best midfielder isn't fit enough to lace his boots up against your rivals, and then all of a sudden miraculously he's fine to go traveling away with the Italian camp, and not only just start the game but actually boss the game as well, and not look like he's injured at all. That's the concern. And you're thinking, what is going on here? Do you know what I mean? Chippers is saying there exactly. We pay the wages, not Italy. Do you know what I mean? And it does. It's just got a bad smell about it. The whole Tonali thing has a really bad smell for me this season. That, you know, ever since that Bilbao game where he had the interview and he said, "Well, you know, I don't know how long I'm going to be here," and all that, and then the noise was coming out. You know, some rumors were going around that was he happy here? Was his missus happy here? And all of that. You know. His ex-Balti says there he's gone in the summer, as well as a few others. I think he's 100% gone in the summer, you know, and we'll get into the returning players in a minute, but I'll tell you something for me, and I'm not being hyperbolic here at all. If the lad would rather play for Italy than Newcastle, right, if he's the one that said he's not feeling right, and he goes and stars for his country, and then he can't play in arguably the biggest game of the run in the last 8 games, if Miley and Bruno are fit, don't play him for the rest of the season. That might sound ridiculous, right? Because you need the points. Don't play him. If he wants to be away and his head's somewhere else, don't play him. Same thing goes with Tino Livramento. If he doesn't want to be here, don't play him. You know, play young Shahar, you know, or when Cher's back, play a back 3 with Chow on the right, Cher in the middle, and Botman on the left, or Burn on the left, or whatever, right? Don't play him. If the head isn't here for these last 7 games that are vitally important for this football club to try and get any kind of European football finish, if these lads aren't fully committed, fully invested in getting results for Newcastle United and giving their best performances, don't fucking play them. That's what I say.
But it sort of smacks of the he who shall not be named situation, doesn't it?
Yeah,
where you end up with a conversation around where he's trying to pull his punches because he knows that if they don't make Champions League football, he's got an easy out. So. I agree to a point. Yes, you want players that are fully committed to the job. I just see the flip side of that is you want your best players on the field. But the funny thing is you mentioned touching on a back 3 there as well. It's funny, you know, because watching him play for Italy, he doesn't play the same role that he plays for Newcastle. He plays a much more sort of advanced position because they've got Locatelli that holds down the because they've got Locatelli that plays that central role, and then him and Barella play off the side of him and much further forward. He's much more involved. It's a bit like watching when Bruno plays. We see him further forward for Brazil. He doesn't sit, which kind of goes back to something we've talked about for a long time. Is a proper 6 in there. But no, I get your point. If you want fully committed players, and if they're not willing to be fully committed, why should you be fully committed to them for the time that they've potentially got left? I do understand that argument.
Yeah.
But again, I'd just say that you've in an important run-in as is coming up with the last 7 games, you want every fit and available player at the peak of their powers. If they're going to do that, fine. If they're not, then yeah, pull them.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at Jeff in the comments there, Jeff doesn't believe Tonali's feigned injury. Now, I really hope that he hasn't, Jeff. I really hope that this is the club that have said he can't play. But as I say, the optics are just awful, because he's arguably your most influential player in a derby game where people have given a gutless performance. And then he goes and bosses it for his country, and it just doesn't look good at all. But he says for Palace, he'd love to see Miley in the 6 with Tonali and Ramsey in the 8. That's a good shout. That's providing Bruno's not fit. I mean, Bruno's working overtime. I saw some clips of him beasting it at the gym on socials earlier on. So he's really working overtime to get fit. And we massively miss Bruno. And I think Miley's a huge miss as well. Be it probably from right back, even as well, as much as I don't like seeing him there. I think the influence that he had on games at right back, just his ability to control the ball, slow it down, keep the ball moving, look for those passes, the link-up play. He was starting to deliver well from set pieces in terms of corners, wasn't he? Miley was probably the best crosser from a corner we had in many ways. And then the minute Trippier come back in, his old creaky legs went over and said, "Oh, I'll take these," and didn't clear the first man again, as always. So Miley's a big miss as well. But we need Bruno and Miley back for me to have any kind of chance to try and finish European. But I still don't think we will finish in European football. I really, really don't. Contrary to what some other channels and certainly club orientated podcasts are saying. In a minute, we'll get into that. I've got plenty to say about that. But Miley and Bruno back is huge for the club, Mark, isn't it? After this international break, if we can get them both fit. I mean, for you, just before we talk about the rest of this year, for you, do they walk back into the starting 11? Miley and Bruno, if they're both fit, do you match fit to play? Do you make that change?
Well, Bruno, absolutely. You can't. I don't think you can. The one thing that Newcastle have missed is that drive from that midfield. It's that complete and utter commitment to everything that he does, and I think I mean, you'd be daft to suggest anything other than yes, he comes straight back in. Miley, I completely understand it, and I sort of agree with that comment. I'd like to see Miley sit as that one in the middle with the other two playing off and further forward. Yeah. I think that
range of pass,
isn't he?
I think he's got a range of pass, that vision. I think he'd do well there.
Yeah, but I've said it a lot. He takes the ball over, Carrick-like. He doesn't. It's nothing spectacular from that role, but that's not what you want. You don't want the Fabian Schär style 60-yard balls over the top. You want him to dictate the momentum of the play. You want him to keep the ball. You want him at 95% passing like Wharton does for Palace, I think, and we've seen for England. You want Miley to control the play in there and give it to those two players that are further forward that are going to really influence the game in that patch of 20 yards outside the penalty area.
It's interesting that Prozek is saying Tonali and Miley Baltimore are all out of their natural positions. That's very interesting show. I mean, with Miley, because he's such a young player, don't quite know where he's going to go. I think he's such a good footballer. A bit like Jacob Ramsey as well. Jacob Ramsey isn't a number 6. He's more of an attacking midfielder. He's played out on the left a lot for Villa, but he's doing a job in that holding role. He's doing it really well. I mean, last few games, obviously, we've kind of tailed off a little bit, but he, with all due respect to him, I think Barcelona, first half he was good, then he just got absolutely run ragged by, quite arguably one of the best young midfielders on the planet, and in Gavi, to be fair. And then obviously the other rest of them around him as well. Sunderland, I just think the desire was with the Mackems more than it was with us. And I said that actually we had a Sunderland fan in our comments earlier today, and fair play to them. It was a nice comment they left, and I did reply, and I didn't give them any shit because I said that they totally deserved that win, and I don't think any of us can disagree with that. I think they deserve both their wins, which is even more disappointing. But yeah, I think for me, Mark, if you got Miley and Bruno fit, there's got to be a way to get them back in that team. I think as much as Tino's pissing me off with his head on Mars, I'd like to see Miley in that midfield with Tonali and Bruno as well. I actually think Miley and Tonali could play really well in a double pivot where Bruno is a bit more further forward. And then you could rotate them. Maybe if Bruno's not getting changed, you could drop him in the double pivot and put Tonali in the 8 and rotate the two of them around. But I think those three midfielders, as much as Evan talks about Joe Linton as well, and listen, Joe's had times this season where he's been good, but I think for a lot of the season, his powers have waned a bit.
Yeah.
And I think the best naturally gifted midfield three that we have, I think, is Bruno Guimaraes, Sandro Tonali right now, and Lewis Miley. But as I say, if Sandro's heart isn't in it, then move him on. Put him on the bench and don't play him, because you need fighters for these last 7 games. I mean, there's some difficult fixtures here. We've got 2 of our bogey teams coming up at home in Bournemouth and Brighton, and we're shit away in London, and we've got 2 away games in London, 3 away games in London, out of those 7 games. So that's 5 of the 7 I've just listed there. Do you know what I mean? And it's just absolutely nuts. Chipper says, how long before Ruddy's played as a striker? He's got to do something, Chipper, hasn't he, to be fair? So actually, that's a good point, Mark. You've been on Volta watch tonight, and I think that's a big thing before we move into some of the propaganda that's been going on and some of the media, and certainly some of the the club orientated podcasts set up by the club and basically agenda set by the club with no impartiality, unlike fan-led media like us. Subscribe, by the way, guys. And there's plenty of other great channels out there too who are totally impartial, including Toon Review and the Geordie Journos as well. And obviously the main man, True Geordie, and even True Faith at times have been accused of being a bit too cozy with the club. I was on the channel there on Sunday, and True Faith are asking the difficult questions now as well, Mark, aren't they? Because people want to know what the fuck's going on. But one of the big questions I think is going to be asked, and we'll get into Nick Volta in terms of what people are saying about him as well. But there is no excuse now, surely, for Howe not to play this lad as a centre forward for the last 7 games, Mark. Surely there can't be an excuse anymore. He's got to try it, hasn't he? He's got to try it.
But the only game out of all of those, I'd suggest that you probably to play anything different would probably be the Arsenal game, because if you're going to go 5 at the back, you want the pace
up front on the break,
pace to counter, and I get that. The other ones, your centre forward that wants to play centre forward and is good at centre forward and has shown that he can play in that position, and give him service and he will score goals. He's shown that already. He had a decent game tonight. Like I said, I will watch a lot of the Germany game tonight. He was, I guess, a little bit in and out. There's some clips knocking around on X if anybody wants to go and find it. There's a lovely little touch. I think it was pulled back for offside, but the ball's played into the area. He makes that run in behind the defenders, pulls the ball down, then lays the ball back to get finished. It's a sensational bit of skill. But the difference, and the one thing we've said time and time again, and many others have said, put players around him. There was an awful lot of that first half today where all 4 of Germany's attacking players, you've got Gnabry, Wirtz, Havertz, and Volta, all within the width of the 18-yard box, all in and around each other, working off each other. And this is just something that Newcastle either won't or can't do with him. And he needs that support in and around. He needs to be able to lay off and move amongst the other players. And that's where he's at his best. And he's shown that tonight for Germany. Again, that you put him in that position and he'll influence the game. He hasn't scored. He hasn't got an assist, but he's played all right. But he's not sat in midfield. He's not in a completely alien position. And it's just ultimately a wasted spot by putting him in there. And I agree. I just think you have to go back to playing him as a centre forward, because the other one's near good. Although he scored a penalty against Bermuda. Well done, son.
Well done. Yeah.
But you've got to put your best player in that position. He's arguably the best finisher outside, possibly Barnes, you'd argue with as well. But Voldemort the centre forward. There's a reason he costs 69 million. There's a reason why he's so highly rated in Germany. There's a reason Bayern want him. Like he has to play. Surely has to play in that position.
You would think so, honestly. Just crazy, absolutely crazy. But we'll talk about Johan Wisser in the transfer talk as well, because apparently there's some teams that want him. I will drive him for you. Don't worry about that. As long as I can fit him in the car if he's not ate too many cupcakes from the staff canteen. But let's get stuck into the next section then. So we've called this Podaganda. Now, in the wake of the derby, there was a lot of fury, there was a lot of rage coming from the fan-led channels. People were pissed off. There were, they were ranting, they were screaming, and rightly so, because they were pissed off about it. I mean, listening to True Faith, I'd never heard Alex so angry. I think I said that to you. I've never heard Alex so angry in my life. All the years I've listened to True Faith, and I've been involved with them as well. Paul at Toon Review was foaming as well, and rightly so. He'd been at the game in his car, and he wasn't very happy. I was kind of calm, but not surprised. But I was like that parent. I'm not angry, I'm disappointed. That's kind of how I was. But unsurprisingly, the mainstream media has kind of rallied to the defense of the manager. The manager was almost given a tap in a press conference and started talking about PSR and FFP, even though he spent 250 million quid in the summer, even though Bournemouth and Brighton have those same financial restrictions, are above us in the league, even though Sunderland's whole squad costs the same amount of money as 2 centre forwards that the manager won't play. He was given an easy tap in by the press, a nice soft touch as always. Some journalists aren't scared to see what they think. I get they're cautious as to how far they go, but we'll talk about them in a minute. But there was one thing, and credit to one of our viewers, Martin, who mentioned this in the Discord group. You can get into that if you remember, guys, down below. Links are below. Nice and safe place, the Discord group. Not like the Wild West of X and social media, where you pop your head out the saloon and somebody tries to shoot you. That's not like that in the Discord group. It's nice and calm and relaxed. And Martin told us to check something out. Now, I don't watch this channel. I'm not going to name this channel, right? But I'll leave enough breadcrumbs for you to basically make a loaf, right? So I don't watch this channel. I've talked about this channel before. It was set up by the club. I kind of know a little bit about it behind the scene, that the club wanted a podcast mainly because, and Mark said this on several occasions, mainstream media want the slice of this pie. This space has grown out exponentially over the years. The likes of, True Geordie Bryan and Mark Goldbridge, United, they got in. I had to do that. They got in right at the start, at the crest of this wave. And, over the last few years, the likes of your Skies with the overlap, the rest is football. All these guys have started to realize that this space is massive and it's well worth grabbing a hold of. So the football club were no different, and I get that. They wanted to set up a fan channel. I said that in abbreviated comments, basically where the club would steer the narrative. So they gave access to this podcast straight away. They had exclusive chats with the manager and Tyndall and Dan Byrne and all these other people were on. And, the main guys that run it, there's one comedian that's about as funny as a bride having the squirts on our wedding day, but he hasn't been on it for a while. And I don't watch these guys, but Martin pointed it out. Now, I did watch this episode after the derby. And, I'm sure the presenter's a lovely fella, but I've stood in drier puddles than this fucking guy. He was the wettest fucking bloke I've ever heard in my life. There was absolutely no passion. There was no anger. There was no, there was no emotion, really. He could have been reading a fucking auto cue, right? And what's he saying there? When am I going on?
When are you going on?
Yeah, I will be going on their channel, mate. So he was very wet right from the jump, really. I'm sure he's a lovely fella, and he probably eats sourdough bread and rides his bike to work, with his little fucking bike clips and all that shit. And he's probably got a little bell, bring, when he's trying to go past you on the road. He's probably a lovely, lovely man, right? But they were talking about the derby, and it's him and a former Newcastle midfield. I won't name him because I'll give away the game. A player who I loved as well, by the way, who's just doing anything for a paycheck. Let's get it right. That's what footballers do when they're playing, and certainly when they're not playing. And they were talking about the derby, and they were talking about how loads of things, they can't control a second half, and they're not winning tackles. But straight away they were like, it's not the manager's fault though. Eddie's not to blame. These were the words they used. Eddie's not to blame. And they said, you can't blame Eddie Howe because of everything he's done. It's all these online fans. Now, just pause there for a minute, right? These guys aren't booing so fucking loud from the fire sticks and their laptops so you can hear them in St. James's Park. That was the fans that go to the games that were booing and letting you know what they thought about it. And listening to True Faith the other day, the fans turned their back on the players when they tried to do a lap of dishonor at the Stadium of Light when they were shit as well. So this has been rumbling on for a while. The match going public are being pissed off with what they're seeing. So this isn't just confined to the dark spaces of the web that these people like to throw out that line and peddle that line to you. It's almost like it's not the people who go to the game that are pissed off with the manager and the players. No, it's you lot, you horrible sewer dwelling online bastards, fan channels and things like that. And they were talking about this, and they were saying, "Oh, the manager's not to blame." And then the presenter again, who I'm sure is a lovely man. I'm going to caveat that, but he is wet as fuck. He really is. And I've got drier sponges. And he was just saying he's a wonderful, wonderful human being. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's a wonderful human being. Nobody said he wasn't a bad bloke. Nobody's accusing Eddie Howe of drowning puppies or fucking, putting twigs out so kids come off their bikes and split their fucking chins open, like Alan Shearer. More on that and Out of Tune, by the way. But no one's accusing him of being fucking Cyril Sneer or a Bond villain. Like what is the point of that line getting thrown out? It's absolute nonsense. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what are you talking about? And then as the episode went on, it just more and more fucking bollocks. And they brought on a couple of other legends as well. And they all just, Eddie's got credit in the bank, and that line that's always used, and you're like, yeah, he's got credit in the bank. I get it. Yeah. But he's getting very, very close to being overdrawn. And he probably is with a lot of fucking fans at the moment because they're not seeing any improvements on the pitch. That's not to say what he's done before isn't brilliant, because what he's done before has been brilliant, right? But it's the past tense, what he's done, not what he's doing. That's the world of football. You're judged on result. You're not judged on what you did 12 months ago. You're judged on what you're doing right now. And that's football, and always has been. And those guys, former players, should know that. They know if they've put in 2 or 3 bad performances and the fans start giving them shit, they don't care that they scored a great free kick 8-9 months ago or whatever. They don't care about that. They care about what they're seeing in the modern terms. And again, some of these guys, Mark, I loved them when they played for our club, right? We've been to talkings with them, and they were great crack, they were good talkers and all that. But one of them turned around. It actually pained me to listen to it. I mean, the whole thing was painful, really. It was like some kind of, when you're on them shit work retreats, and you're just like, I don't want to be here. What the fuck is this guy talking about? That's kind of what I felt watching it. But I was watching it out of respect for what Martin asked us to look into it. One of the former pros basically just turned around and started laying into Nick Voltemada, who actually, if you go back and watch the derby, wasn't even that bad. He wasn't one of the worst players on the park. He set the first goal up. He tried to get on the ball and make things happen. Then he was subbed off for Willock, and weirdly enough, we actually lost control at midfield when that substitution happened. But this former pro laid into him, just saying he's not good enough, and and they started talking about he's not getting in the box enough, he's not doing this. And to be fair, one of the other pros did say, well, he is playing in midfield, mate. Do you know what I mean? And just, the whole thing just reeked of trying to cover up any kind of responsibility from the manager, from the players, for just a weak shit derby performance, and that's not the kind of content that I think is healthy, Mark, to be brutally honest with you. And they're attacking other people for producing content themselves without the financial backing of the sponsors that the club have, or the access to all the brilliant guests and everything else. By the way, just to let you know, they've got half the level of subscribers we do, and the videos don't get as many views as we do. So me shouting in my box room, as somebody called me a few months ago, gets more views than them interviewing the manager or one of the players. So that tells you that people would rather listen to people actually talking a little bit more honestly about what is going on than just pulling the wool over people's eyes, Mark. But I will breathe and let you talk about, you're normally the calmer out of the two of us, but I thought Martin asked us to cover it. I watched it and I just thought it was fucking nonsense. And it's not healthy for Eddie Howe. It's not healthy for the players, to mask the deficiencies and then to turn that on the fans and almost say, how dare you have an opinion about that? It's not healthy, mate, is it? Surely not. It really isn't.
No, I mean, thanks for taking a breather. I mean, it is good of you. But yeah, I said, evening, Don. Thank you very much, mate. I'll wave as well. Yeah, the first 10 minutes.
Tumble wave, that, by the way. That was a very Mr. Tumble wave. You even slowed down, did the grin. Sorry, mate.
I just haven't got this. I haven't got the suit.
No, it's in the wash.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it. I think you accused me of being too nice to them, as is always the case. But
Always.
Like the first 10 minutes, I got it. Like the opening bit about, he talked about it. The vast majority being still with the manager. It is, a lot of the online fans and all that kind of stuff. And you sit there and go, but we've heard it's not. We've heard multiple times now that there is there's an ill feeling in the air, isn't there, of the way things have gone, particularly this season. And the credit in the bank, as Marcus says, there is some do feel that way. Some feel that he's still got credit in the bank. Some don't. But this whole the bit that I didn't like about it, and I sort of gave some of them some credit for the way that they sort of approached it. The whole
some of them did say this is the first time he's under pressure. Sorry, some of them did say that. Some of the ex-players, and I'll give them that. I'll give them that respect. They did say that as the episode went on. So
yeah, and I think there was a point in which the Voldemort comments and again asking, as one of them put, why is he playing in midfield? How is it that the manager hasn't found suitable players to play in that midfield and has ended up playing Nick Voldemort? How has they got to the point where it's so thin on the ground in that squad, in that area? And I questioned last week where that Willock had played so well against Chelsea and then all of a sudden was dropped and you end up playing your centre forward and that again that question mark is there, and to be fair was sort of raised. But the one I didn't like was the talk about the transfer window last summer and the fact that Eddie Howe wasn't helped. And I get it. There's turmoil above him in sort of the support that's there. But when you're talking about transfers that came into the club and how there was no support for him at that point, they're his signings. Those are players he wanted. So it's not about whether there's support there for him or whether what they're looking at when they're going to do it. Those are players that Eddie Howe identified that he wanted. So the buck stops with him at that point. Like, I understand the Voldemort deal probably wasn't what he wanted to do, but he wanted Elanga, he wanted Ramsey. I think he wanted Wissa. Those are the ones where you go, okay, but you're looking at these ones going, how are you then questioning the support when he's actually getting in the players that he wants and those players just aren't performing? And that question mark isn't there. It's all about the support from up above. And I get that argument to a point, but when those players are being identified and signed by the manager and his immediate team, then that question that part of it. And that's why I think he does get an awful lot of an easy ride in those sorts of comments.
Yeah. Kaiser still does believe it was him that brought up the shows and BS as well. Yeah, sorry, mate. It was you and Martin, I believe it was. But yeah, I just don't think it's healthy. And like I say, look, I don't like taking pot shots at other people's content, so because it takes a lot of bravery to go on and do content, even if you're a professional and doing it, putting yourself out there in a space. It is quite a volatile, toxic place, and you can disagree with people's content, not like it, and just don't watch it and move on. I didn't put any abusive comments on the video, nothing like that when I was watching, even though I disagree with pretty much 85% of what they said. I didn't do it, but I just don't think that the lack of discourse is unhealthy. You can't just totally overstack this side and then just dismiss that side of the argument and then absolve the manager or the players of any kind of responsibility for that performance or the season itself. I just didn't think it was healthy at all. I really, really didn't. But it seems to be the way now. People just seem to get dismissed and shot down and attacked, and I think Brian did a video the other day and he's getting clipped up again by people. And I mean, I know it's just a norm for Brian, but I don't agree with it really. Like, if you don't like the guy's content, just don't watch it. You don't need to clip it up to try and increase views to your channel for doing it. I've been clipped up this season. I didn't like it. It wasn't a nice experience. Probably the most negative experience I've had since I've been doing this kind of a thing. And, some of it I looked at and thought, maybe that's not a great side of me, that I can maybe be a little bit better than that. And I've tried to be better since then. And I believe I have been a bit better since then, not kind of throwing out personal slurs towards the manager in moments of anger, which happens as a football fan. You go to any stadium in the world, whatever language they speak, they're shouting that he's a wanker or the manager's a wanker and all this stuff. They don't mean it. They're shouting it in the moment. But when you do it behind one of these, in front of one of these, you're there for somebody to clip you up, and they only do it to drive views and clicks to their channels. They don't do it because they agree or disagree with that person. They think, oh, that's good. I'll appeal to this side of the argument by clipping that guy up, and increasing my views. And it doesn't matter what, abuse that maybe that guy then gets because of me adding fuel to that fire. They don't really think about that, and that's their man, professional journalists as well, when they throw out the slurs that they've been throwing out this season. And I think it's a really toxic, ugly place, the fan base at the moment. I really do. And that's in the ground as well. The boos in the ground, the players don't want to hear that. The manager doesn't want to hear that, but you can't not hear that. Let's get it right as well. The club aren't doing themselves any favors either, because going around and doing a lap of dishonor after that game, what were you thinking was going to happen then? There was fans waiting to yell at you. Like, they were yelling at Dan Burn, and there wasn't that many fans there. So Dan Burn would have heard every single word those lads were saying to him, because they were furious that Newcastle had served such a bad performance. That's not doing the players any good. And then you don't let them come out in front of the cameras and talk, and then Gordon comes out and talks in front of the club cameras, and says that Sunderland are shit. And you're like, well, they've just beat us twice, Anthony. So what does that make us then, mate? Do you know what I mean? And it's just really, where's the media support for these people, Mark? Like, I won't even get started with a Newcastle United employee who I think has actually left the club now, from what I gather, retweeting that Sunderland beat us again because he's a Sunderland fan. I think he's actually left the club now. But even that, where's the control? Where's the media savviness within the club, Mark? It's just not right, is it? It really isn't. Do you know what I mean? It's just a mess.
Yeah, the Gordon comments are so well thought out to come out and start going, well, we're the better team. Yeah, you might want to prove that on the field, mate. Like that's not rocket science. And I highlighted this message from Finn Loma. If I've said your name wrong, apologies. But I actually missed
I think it's an accent now, Finn Lome.
I went back and looked at it, and there was a post earlier in the week that said that there was a leaked email that David Hopkinson sent out to staff. And what got me, obviously, last weekend was a really tough beat for everybody. I think that's a Newcastle fan to have to sat and watch that.
It stuck to you, yeah.
And he's come out and he's put this message that I think is a video message to rally the staff, the troops behind him, and it goes on to say sort of things like, there's no pretending it doesn't hurt. We're building something very real, a club that's consistently competing at the highest levels of sport. Again, there's that line about getting to that point in a few years' time. It hurts because we care. It's adversity, and adversity does not define us. It reveals us, blah, 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 blah. He goes on to quote Vince Lombardi and things like that. And he finishes by saying, yesterday feels heavy, and it is, but that's okay. We won't carry it for long. Our enthusiasm and our conviction will remain undiminished. It's a very sort of, it's a bit of a weak-ass statement when you've not said anything to the fans about it. You've sent the manager out to face the music. One of the players has come out. You've pulled everybody from the written media. There's nothing about, nothing from you coming out to kind of address the fans afterwards to give them some sort of rallying call. It just feels like they've not read the room very well at all. Again, it's time and time again we're seeing stuff like this.
Yeah, I don't think they get it. I don't think they get the magnitude of it. We said this after the game. I don't think they understand it. I don't think the manager gets it. I don't think Tyndall gets it. In fact, his daughter put that ridiculous post out. And again, we did say there's no reason for the abuse that she got personally. But it was very, ill-timed and not very well thought out. And again, as you said on the show, Mark, where was the media coverage there? Where was the media to step in and go, take that down straight away? What are you doing that for?
Ironically, the only person that seems to have got the magnitude of the game was the Sunderland fan that worked for the club and decided to put. Do you know what I mean? It's the only one.
Yeah, repost it. Yeah,
stupid.
We don't know what's happened to that lad. That lad could have been treated like shit by the club for all we know, and they might be giving him the fingers as he's walking out the door. Do you know what I mean? It might in his mind it might be well deserved, but there just seems to be a real lack of structure there. I mean, I said this when I was on the True Faith episode as well, and the guys were making very valid points. Mick in particular was very scathing about the people above. He was very supportive of Howe. He's very scathing about those above, and I mean, it just seems to be a lot of waffle coming from the CEO. He obviously did that dreaded talk sport interview now. He actually said a line in there which I thought was quite inspirational. That was a goal without a plan is just a dream. And I thought that's quite good, that. But where is the plan? We don't know what these lot are doing. It's all just noise. There's no update in the training ground. There's no update in the stadium. Your big players are now getting a bit sick of it all, looking to move on. There's no Champions League next season. You're in big trouble. You're going to lose revenue as well because, you haven't got Champions League money coming in the season after. You're going to lose league position, potentially lose money there, and lose some of your big players as well, your more marketable players. And this is all going on, and the club are handling it really badly. And what do they do? Oh, here's some more merch for you to buy. It just, it's like it's two different parallels. They put the tickets up massively. They're not performing on the pitch. We're out of the Champions League, not just out, smacked out, slapped out, kicked out by a huge Barcelona boot. Our best players are looking to get out of the club. The manager looks a broken man, and he hasn't got the same magic as he had 4 years ago. Now, whether he can rediscover that or not, listen, you have your feeling, guys. I have my feeling. Mark has his, right? Whatever will be with the manager, right? Whether the back him or sack him, whatever will be. That's the club that has to make that decision. But it's just a mess at the moment. All of that early excitement that this takeover brought, let's shoot for the stars and land on the moon type of thing that Amanda Stavel used to say all the time. It's all just gone now. It's all just cold corporate waffle, and it just, it's empty, isn't it? I think I've described this season on more than one occasion, Mark, as a hollow husk of a season. And that's how it feels. It's just a hollow husk of a nothing season. And the Champions League was papering over cracks. That's all gone now. And now we've got 7 games to do the business to try and save this season. And I don't know about you, mate, but I just don't back this team to do it. I don't back this manager to do it either. That's not me being negative or whingy. I'm just, from what I've seen, the body of work I've seen from this football club this season, I don't think they've got it in them to win those 7 games or get maximum points out of those 7 games to get into Europe. And I don't see the other teams around us slipping up enough to allow us to get ahead of them.
Nothing we've seen in the Premier League so far would suggest that Newcastle can suddenly put together four wins from 4 wins in a row. Anything like, we haven't seen it. I think we've seen 3, and a struggle in those games as well. Like they've not flowed easily. Where we've seen in previous seasons that Newcastle have gone on a run and won 5 or 6 or 7 games in a row and looked good doing it. We've just not seen that in the league. They've really struggled to get anything going. The odd result here and there masks things, but they're generally results without a performance to go with it, which is sometimes fine because you want to win ugly at certain points. But I think it will be a struggle. The only thing would be if teams do slip up. And there seems to be that point where others are we've certainly seen further up the league with the likes of Chelsea and Liverpool and Villa have been falling over each other to get themselves out of the Champions League spaces. The trouble is nobody else has been able to catch up. But yeah, I'm with you. I can't see going on a run and taking 3/4 of the points are left on the table. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think you half marks probably. Are we talking at what 21 available points? Getting to 10 is probably that point, and that's probably not good enough.
As course you're saying there, if we'd done the double over Sun in the season, we'd be 7th at the moment and 11 points above them. They've done it to us and they're 1 point above us. Absolutely. And I think you got to give them the credit that they deserve. They have fought harder than other teams that are better than them, have got better quality players, and desire can take you a long way. Remember when Greece won the Euros? Desire can take you a long way in football. It can overrule quality. We've done it under Eddie Howe. We've outran teams, outfought better teams than us, and blown them away. And that's what Sunderland are doing this season. They're not blowing people away, but they're staying in games and they're getting points where you didn't expect them to get it. And their fans, the manager, they've got to look back at the season and be proud of it, and then they'll rightly so stay up in the league. But yeah, it's not, the 3-week break is nice to have, but the return, I think, is filling us all full of dread, really. But let's move on to something equally depressing.
I was just going to say on that point. No, I was just going to say on that point when you mentioned the 3-week break, it's probably the best time 3-week break possibly for them to just kind of take stock of what's gone on and reset and come back. If they come back in the manner of we're going to run into the ground and just grind the shit out of everything like we've seen before, put every ounce of intensity into the last 7 games, then I think they can do it. If they try and pussyfoot around the games like we've seen, they won't.
Yeah, exactly. Tell that cat stop ringing its bell. Fucking thing. It's up to no good. It's after a wire to pull out. Anyway, as I was saying, moving on to something equally depressing, the Sandro Tonali saga. So the Sandro Tonali saga took a new twist this week. And most of you probably would have seen it, because I think most of you guys watch these guys as well as us. We have mutual viewers. But there was an article that went out by Liam Kennedy, one of the Geordie journos. I don't mind calling Liam out in terms of naming him for it, because everyone knows it was him that put the article out. It's been shared and requoted and commented on and everything else by lots of people. And the article was said that Sandro Tonali has a gentleman's agreement. We've heard that before, haven't we? A gentleman's agreement that he can leave the football club if we don't get European football. And it's an understanding that he has and his people have. And, that explains all the noises about maybe looking at other clubs, Champions League clubs and things like that. Now, the club apparently weren't very happy about this, didn't want it out there. That was Liam's own words on his own video, which he come out and said. And another journalist who shall remain nameless, but I'm not a big fan of him. And I think I've mentioned him on more than one occasion on the channel. I think he's a bit of a pantomime villain. I think he stirs things up unnecessarily. I think he adds fuel to the fire when he doesn't need to. I don't know what his agenda is. Doesn't even support Newcastle. Openly says that. But he came out and basically called Liam's piece into question, the validity of it, and said that it wasn't true at all. And that was apparently the club feeding that line to that journalist to do that. So Liam looked a little bit upset when he did his video about it. I think he was a bit upset the fact that a fellow journalist kind of attacked him as well. And again, it just goes to show you the state of the coverage of the football club at the minute, Mark, that we're being lied to. We're being lied to. We're being led down the garden path by journalists who the club are basically using as pawns and puppets in this agenda to pull the wool over Newcastle United's eyes, especially after the summer we've just had. After the summer we've just had, we had to watch that horrific Isak saga play out in front of our eyes. I was on the TV with Liverpool fans fucking laughing at me and taking the piss out of me, basically saying that he's leaving for a bigger club and all that. And I was still going, he's not going anywhere. We need the offer, and all that. And it was a mess behind the scenes. By the sound of it, there was promises probably broken Alexander Isak, because there seems to be promises to Tonali, that they could potentially be getting reneged upon. We've had massive shuffles upstairs in terms of people of power in the club. When these lads signed for us, Mark, it was a different group of people who were promising them the things that they were promising them. And, we had that with Mitchell coming in and telling Isak, you ain't getting that, mate. You got a 5-year contract. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back for him. I mean, Isak may have pulled that stunt anyway at some point, but had Mitchell not played that the way he played it, and the club not played that the way they played it, we may have still had that lad this season. You never know. And the Tonali thing looks like that's going to be a mess as well this summer. But to have, two journalists kind of, at different ends of the spectrum, I know who I believe, the journalist that I'm not going to name. I mean, if he wrote me directions to go to the toilet, I'd sooner piss myself and throw it in the bin and not read it. Because I wouldn't read anything that he fucking writes half the time, because I just think he's a wind-up merchant and a mischief maker. I generally don't have a lot of respect for him as a journalist at all. Liam, I've met Liam before. He's a good lad. I think he's a brave journalist. I think he's not scared to put his neck on the line. He's not scared to, release stories that maybe might upset people when they read it. And that's journalistic integrity, which I think is in really short supply market at the moment. I mean, I don't know what your take on the whole thing was. I personally think Tonali is away. I think Tonali thinks he can go if we don't get Europe. I think that conversation has been had at some point, and I just don't. This desperate scramble by the club to try and mask this by saying that journalist is wrong. I don't believe it, mate. I don't believe it at all.
Yeah, it's over without outright accusing them of being on almost the payroll of the club. I don't think they are. Before anybody tries to suggest that that's what I'm sort of saying, but
no.
There's a willingness to toe the party line by some,
yes,
and I think that you bang on the money with Liam, and what is it? At the end of the day, a journalist is there. They do their research, they get their sources, they put information out. It's what they're paid to do. To sit on anything like that would be against what they stand for. So by Liam gathering that information and getting it, as he says, from multiple sources, which is what you have to do, he's not going to sit on that story. For one, because somebody else will come along and write that maybe wouldn't do that. But it would go against his bosses would be fucking furious. It's a bit like people have called out Craig Hope for putting stuff out. But at the end of the day, yes, some of it may not be what you want to hear, but ultimately he has a job to do, and he's expected to write those stories if he gets that information. But this whole thing of where you're pitching journalist versus journalist, and I saw the quotation marks from somebody in the comment earlier on that put journalist in quotes, and I kind of agree with that one. But you're pitching them against each other and actively trying to discredit a professional who's doing their job, and
it's not healthy. It's not healthy, man.
No, it's not, and that information has to come from somewhere. There's absolutely no way in God's earth that Liam would write something like that without having done his background on it.
I don't believe that.
It's not worth your job, because if you found out to be creating bollocks like that, he's going to be out of a job just as quickly.
He's got no credibility if he's making stuff up like that. He's got no credibility at all. He's no better than an ITK bullshit merchant on social media, if that's the case. And there's plenty of them.
We've got plenty of those rattling around YouTube and X and all sorts of what we've seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it is infuriating. He mentioned in his video as well that it wasn't just the one. There was another one as well, and I haven't sort of figured out who that other person is. You suggested somebody on TV, but I don't know whether that's.
I didn't know that. I was trying to look at it because it wasn't Craig Hope.
No,
I didn't see any of the. Was it the formerly Athletic guys? Are they still with the Athletic? George and Chris? I don't think it was any of them. It certainly wasn't Charlie Bennett because he works with them. It certainly wasn't the other two. George
exactly.
So I couldn't really see who it was. But as I say, this whole thing is just so unhealthy. You don't have any impartiality anymore with the coverage of the football club. It's not healthy. It's not healthy because as a supporter, and I don't care if you go to every single game, home and away. Do you know what? If you do, I've got now but respect for you. But even if you don't go to games, but you watch every single game you can, you're on the other side of the world. You're up at 4 a.m. in the morning, which a lot of our viewers are when we do the post-match reactions, right? You're entitled to a voice. You're entitled to an opinion as well. You're a Newcastle United fan as much as the person who goes home and away, right? But the coverage that they're giving the fans now, the journalists, it's all one-sided. There's no balance. There's no discourse. There's nobody saying to the manager, why are you playing a centre forward midfield, Eddie? Why are you doing that? It's not working. Why is Gordon up front? It's not working. What they're telling you is, Gordon's the best centre forward at the club. And you're like, based on what? He's got the pace and he's running around. He scored 2 goals, not playing over a year. Well, you're just one of them online fans, you. No, hang on a minute. No, I'm not. I'm a fan who can look at stats and go
the game,
and watch the game and go, he's not a centre forward. He's a quick player who's disruptive and causes trouble, but his movement isn't a centre forward's movement. There was a weird thing, wasn't it, on social media the other day about Robbie Fowler did a video and said he was a better finisher than loads of these centre forwards, and people were going, how can you say that? And it was like, did you ever watch Robbie Fowler play? Robbie Fowler, exactly. Robbie Fowler was unreal as a finisher, right? Robbie Fowler didn't run around, charge around, chasing left back to right back to 2 centre-halves like Gordon did. He'd make a 5-yard run, but it was the most intelligent run you've ever seen, and he would finish with aplomb. That's what centre-forwards do. You don't have to charge around like a fucking maniac. That's not what centre-forwards do. Centre-forwards make intelligent runs at the right time and score goals. And Gordon's not a centre-forward. I don't think he ever will be, because I don't think he has that ability to move that way.
Doesn't have the instinct for it.
No. We said the other day, maybe there's little upshoots there, but then he goes back and he plays 2 or 3 bad games, and you're thinking, oh, for fuck's sake, you know what I mean? But he's not, because he's not a centre forward, and he shouldn't have to be put there. He's put there because the manager is running out of ideas, and he didn't want to sign the lad that was signed. We've got Tim in a comment. My mate Tim, good to see you, Tim. The journalist in question has no credibility. He backs Steve Bruce. He's a puppet, not a journalist. I don't disagree with any of that. And by the way, the journalist in question also told all of us that he'd hang his hat on this. Alexander Isak is going nowhere, was the exact words that he said. And where's Alexander Isak now?
Oops. Yeah.
Oopsie daisy. So again, you can't stand there and start giving it the big one like you know better than this guy, and they should listen to you rather than this guy when that's your track record. But journalists fighting with each other over whether a player will stay or go is not healthy for this football club. And it has become a really unhealthy, kind of senseless, imbalanced club at the minute. Whether you're watching them play brilliantly or you're watching them play badly, you're entitled to your opinion as a fan, and you're not entitled to your opinion now because you're labeled, you're lambasted, you're segregated, you're attacked, you're abused for having an opinion. And that's not football for me. Football never used to be like that. You could be disagreed with, and maybe a slight level of abuse, like someone could call you a prick or a wanker or something for having an opinion on a player. That's just natural, lad. But this level of abuse is all kinds of different. And the coverage of this football club right now is not worth a light. It's not worth a light. It really, really isn't. And it pains me to say that, because I used to watch a lot of the content these guys produced. I like them. I've met them in person. Mark, we've met them in person, and they're good guys. I want to make it very clear that we're not saying they're bad guys, but the route they've gone down is not impartial as a journalist. It's all one-sided, and just, I don't know, mate. I just despair with the whole thing. I really do. I don't think it's healthy.
No, and we go back to some of the comments around Voldemort for one. I mean, how one-sided has all of that been? Where it's a label of he's not good enough. But no question mark until however many games in, suddenly you suddenly put on, oh, he's not a midfielder. Shock! We've told you that from the very beginning. It's like. Yeah.
There's Pete with some stats for Nick Voldemort tonight, mate. I know you're on the watching. He's had a good game. He's had a good game for Germany. Leading the line.
Shockingly, play him in his position, and he'll play well. But we go back to the one thing I think we all say: football ultimately is a simple game, isn't it? And I'm the biggest stat whore going. I love a stat. I sit with spreadsheets and all sorts over shit. But your eyes don't lie to you. No. If you're watching 50 games a season, you can see that somebody is not that player, or not, that doesn't fit a position that they're playing in. How is it that there are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of us watching the game and going, he shouldn't be playing there. He cannot play in that position. And others go, well, I can see what they're trying to do with it. No, he's not right. Like ultimately, but there's so much backup for the manager in moments where he's clearly made a mistake.
Yeah.
And very, very little questioning of that particular thing. It blows my mind that there isn't that balance from some.
Absolutely. Well, just one more comment on this. Daniel saying slagging Nick is just them running a defence for Eddie. Protect him at all costs. He's been treated horribly by Eddie and some of our ex-pros, looking for any scapegoat than the actual one. I don't disagree with that at all. I just think it is really, really poor. Really, really poor. Comment there from Jack as well. As wish for the worst player to wear number 9 for us. He's very close, mate. Very close. I think he's having a little competition with himself. But we'll slightly move away from the Sandro saga and the journalist fight and everything else. And we're moving to transfer talk because we've got some exciting news, guys. Don't worry, I'm about to piss on your chips in a minute. But we've got some exciting news. Newcastle United have signed a wonder kid from Ecuador. Yes, you've all heard of him, haven't you? Johan Martinez. He's 16 years old. Looks very good, very lively, very skillful. He's flicking the ball over players' heads. He's running rings around. He's scoring screamers. He's going to join Newcastle when he's 18 years old. And guess what? He'll never play a fucking game for this club at all. That's how I feel about this, right? People are getting excited about this online. You can call me miserable bastard as much as you want, right? He will not play for this football club. He is Yankuba Minter Mark II. That's what he's going to be. He'll stay at his club till he's 18. They'll loan him out somewhere. If he's lucky, he'll get loaned to a good club and he'll perform well. He'll come back. We'll sell him for 40 million quid and go buy some overrated shite right winger or whatever, or centre midfielder from the Premier League, from fucking Bournemouth or fucking Leeds or West Brom, whoever's in the Premier League at that particular time, because Eddie Howe wants him. This kid will never play for us. He'll go on and become a much better player, and we'll all be kicking off again and go, what's the fucking point in this month? Signing these young kids and not fucking playing them. But some people will go, hey, well, it helped us with PSR, won't it? So I'm not excited about this shit at all. I really am not. I mean, part of me should be saying, oh, yeah, they're scouting in, South America. Look at all the wealth of talent there. I saw another thing. We're supposed to sign an 18-year-old Brazilian kid from, is it Guillermo, who's been likened to Ronaldinho and all that. We've got a manager who won't play players, won't play young players. We could sign the next Roberto Carlos if we sold Lewis Hall, God forbid we don't, and we signed the next Roberto Carlos, and this manager will play Dan Burn at left back ahead of him. That's what he would do. That's what he would do. So I'm not excited by this signing. I'm excited by the idea of the signing, but the reality of the signing, yes, the podcast has been cited. The reality of the signing is he will never play for us and he'll just be used as a vehicle to move cash around if he's any good. I don't know what you think, Mark. You're the more positive one out of the two, as I'm fucking sick of this season. I've had enough of all this bullshit. So I'm not buying any of this shit anymore. So
he's such a cynic. What was it I texted you earlier when I put one for the future of another club?
Of another club? He'd never play for us, man. Never play for us.
Look, there is part of this, and again, there's a way I look at it, and you've got to bring in these young players to then be able to create cash flow and create balance in the transfer coffers. To you bring these players in for relatively little amount and sell them on for double, triple the price or more. The way that City, the way that Chelsea have done. But again, if you're going to bring in players that are exciting quality, then they have to be integrated. They can't be sent out on some shitty loan a la Garang Kwal, where he's sent to sit on a bench somewhere. The players have to go and they have to be found the right places for them to thrive. If you're going to do that, I mean, you cannot send them to the SBL or the First Division or Scotland, wherever it was Kwal ended up, and not play. You cannot be sent to an Eredivisie side to sit on the bench and not play, or into La Liga or the Second Division and not play. These players have to be given the opportunity somewhere. So they have to. Whoever's arranging this sort of stuff has to find the right place for them to land.
That's the problem. Shola Obi, who's lining it up. What business has he got being a loan manager at this football club, man?
Well, there's a question mark of what has he done to. What has he done, or what has he shown to justify that position at the moment? But equally, the manager at some point has to start integrating these players into the first team, not just into training, not just to sit on the bench. Actually get game time. Like we saw Miley burst through that. I think that was enforced to a point, but he's thrived because of it. I want to see more. He was
going to make it though. He was always going to make it. He was too good of a player to not make it, Lewis Miley. I'm sorry. I don't buy that line. He would never have started if Anderson had been here and all that. He would have got games and he would have played and he would have done the business. He would have done.
I agree, but him getting the start when he did was ultimately forced.
I get it. Yeah. Well, you either sink or swim, don't you? You know what I mean?
But some of those other ones have had ample opportunity this season to come in games that have that have either gone or coming in games like the Karabag one, for example. It's always going to. I mean, there's absolutely no need to have played or given the players as little time as they did, and it just that ultimately for those players there has to be a view to a route into the first team, and if they're not going to be given that opportunity, some of those ones that will then look to go elsewhere because there's more of a vehicle for them to break into a first team. If it not at that club, at another one, if they're not given the opportunity to shine at Newcastle, to get a move elsewhere to be able to, then they're just not going to come.
But there's a question for you though. If you had a young lad, right, who was a really good player, or if you were an agent of a young player, right, would you have him go to Newcastle, looking at the lack of first team progression that the manager brings through? Would you advise him to go to Newcastle to develop?
It depends who else is on the cards. But if you're looking at a choice of going to somewhere like, and especially now, if you're looking at Newcastle or Brighton, I'm telling them to go to Brighton because they're going to get integrated into the first team quickly. We've seen that.
And they've got multi-club models where these kids may go and play somewhere else. Something that we've talked about again, all just talk and no action, that these players aren't going to.
Yeah, and there's a vehicle for them to move on. We've seen that with the likes of Caicedo. Balaba's probably the next one to go through that merry-go-round of going into Brighton, playing really well, and then getting a really big move after that. There's a pathway for them there. Likewise, at places like Bournemouth, we've seen how good they are at bringing in younger players to move on. I mean, Dean Howson was a brilliant signing for them, and they shipped him on and made 40-odd million on him. It's not great to only keep him for a year, but ultimately at that point, you've got to be looking to do things like that. You've got to take a chance on somebody and then integrate them into the side, get them game time, build it. And if it is a case of you're not going to use them long term, but you want value for them, then they have to show that value as well. Like they've got to be given the opportunity to show that value. So, yeah, I think given the opportunity, it depends on the club, obviously, but I wouldn't send my kids there at the moment. Not the way things have gone.
No, you wouldn't. I mean, it's not all doom and gloom, I suppose. In terms of the youth development, but we do seem to have some decent young players coming through. Recently the under 15s have actually just won a trophy there, an under 15 international tournament not too long ago there. And there's a couple of really good players in there. I mean, there's a young lad. What is he called? He's a free kick specialist, isn't he? We've discussed him before.
Oh, we talked about him the other week.
Charlie Henderson or something like that, is it? Charlie NUFC. Let's have a look. Under 15s. I'll see if I can Google him and find him. Charlie Robinson, that's him, Charlie Robinson. And he takes a hell of a free kick, to be fair. Absolutely cracks it. Yeah, that's them winning the tournament there. So fair play to young lads, and there could be some superstars in there. But what concerns me about the way the club is going right now is hanging on to too many old players. I mean, we've got, as the Zig says there, we've got England's under 18s right back who can't get 8 minutes when we're 8 goals up on an aggregate score, which is nuts. So if you're not going to give these kids a game then, and we're selling Elliot Anderson to Nottingham Forest, who should really be our main midfielder now, alongside Lewis Miley, another young lad. If we had a team, with them two in, and maybe Leo Shahar's broke into the team, and maybe one of the young keepers has, or Sean Neve's getting more game time, you suddenly start thinking, hey, there's a pathway in that Newcastle lineup. But you're watching Sean Neve not getting games over Wissa, who's awful, wingers are playing up front ahead of Sean Neve, so he's not getting a game either there. He's not getting a chance. Shahar's not getting a chance because the 35-year-old's there, and Tino Livramento was injured prior, and he was playing Jacob Murphy at right back. And if the manager's not going to start trusting these young lads with half an hour here or half an hour there, what's the point in having them on the bench? Leo's been a member for 2 months. 2 months here, lads. Imagine that. Glad to be here. And Leo's not even a Newcastle fan.
You.
Leo's a Man
What a
U
legend.
fan. He's one of the good ones. Thanks, Leo, but you're still not getting Tonali in the summer. Bugger off. Hope he goes abroad. Sorry, mate. I couldn't help it. But hopefully some of these young lads will have something, Mark, to come through. And I mean, will Howe be the man when they do come through? I'm not so sure. But let's hope whoever the manager is starts giving some of these young lads a chance.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it sounds obvious to say, isn't it? It's the future of the club, and those players, though, if they start to show that they're good enough, then they have to start being. Maybe it's not this early for them, given that it's the under-15s, but they've got to, you've got to start looking at them as potential for the future. Start building them into first-team players ultimately, so that you end up potentially with a Max Dowman situation where they're getting into the first team at 16. Like, I mean, there's going to be very few of that quality, but you don't know at the moment. But I think the club have ultimately got to do a lot better with their younger players and the way that they are brought into and integrated into first team football, not just training.
Yeah. Well, again, just before we get into Out of Toon, because I'm ready for a break from Out of Toon. Well, we will get into Out of Toon, starting with a couple of Toon references actually. But that's another question the journalists should be asking them. Is there anybody in the youth academy standing out? The young lads have just won that tournament. Is there any players in there that have caught your eye? Any players you're aware of? And they just don't ask that question. And that's the kind of thing you want the journalists to be asking as well. Because the likes of Man United do, Liverpool do. They're interested. You look at someone like you say, Mark, like Max Dowman, who, and listen, he may be a generational talent, in years to come because the kid looks unbelievable, right? But why aren't our journalists enthused enough to ask questions about these young lads? I mean, I was talking to a lad we used to play football with actually at the gym the other day, Mark Thulis. Thu, big shout out to Thu, he's watching. And he said that one of his mates goes and watches the games, the academy games. And I said, you did that a few times. We should go watch some of the academy games. But I think it would probably piss me off more because if I'm watching a kid whipping in corner after corner and finding somebody's heed, and I'm watching Trippier hit grass cutter dribblers across the floor, not clear the first man, I'll be going, what the fuck's going on here? Why is he not getting a sniff? And it just winds me up. It really, really does. But anyway, we'll move away from all that noise and we'll get into some Out of Toons because honestly, I've had enough today. So we'll start Out of Toons this week with a couple of in-tunes. Now, it's been a bit of a rough week for Alan Shearer. Not that you would say that in many instances because Big Al has great weeks because he's Big Al. But potholes are a big issue for all of us. I drive a lot for my job. I hate potholes. It's like driving in fucking Beirut these days and in all of England, never mind the northeast. You got holes and roads and everything. It's a fucking nightmare. But Big Al fell afoul of a pothole when he was on his bike. He hit a pothole and he went flying off. And he's proper battered himself all over me, hasn't he? That's bad news for Alan, that. I mean, he's got a lot of injuries as it is, but Jesus Christ. I mean, Tony Adams never left him in that state, did he, mate? I mean, that is a bad injury for Big Al, huh?
I started to think when I saw the picture that Podcat had got him.
Probably set about by the Podcat.
I mean, I've been in that position coming off a bike before. Oh, Jesus Christ. But yeah, that looks nasty. So
you had your stabilizers though, mate. You weren't as bad. You didn't go over the handlebars. You had the wheels. you had the safety wheels to keep you right, mate. To keep you right. But yeah, that is bad. We wish Alan a speedy recovery. I mean, I don't know what made Alan come off his bike. Was it a pothole, or maybe it was the sheer shock of him saying, "Do you like that sheer shock?" I was playing the game there. So the sheer shock of Alan Shearer watching Anthony Gordon doing his greatest England comparison players. You've seen us doing around on social media, and I've clipped it at the right time. There's some big questions, like Wayne Rooney against Harry Kane, Steven Gerrard against, David Beckham, all this kind of stuff. And then they got to Alan Shearer versus Saga, and you can just see in Gordon's eyes, I could read his mind right there. He was saying, I'll fucking teach you for saying I didn't want to play against Barcelona, you fucking shit house. So he picked Saka above Alan Shearer, which was just ridiculous, really. Let's get it right. I mean, Saka's a very talented player, but in terms of England, Mark, get away, man. He's not as good of an England player as fucking Alan Shearer, man. Do me a favour, will you?
What did Shearer end up with? 43 international goals. He
wasn't 43. It was 30 odd, wasn't it?
Was it
30? Yeah, 30 odd, I think.
My apologies. I've given him more goals than he had, but yeah, genuinely,
he would have done 2 serious injuries. He would have done,
of course. I mean, the goals he scored in Euro 96, the performances he's putting in England shirt, I cannot understand that pick at all, and especially when you're playing for the club.
It didn't look good, did it? It didn't look good.
No, I'm sorry, mate, but I mean, your Saka might be your mate, but fucking hell, come on.
I know
there isn't a comparison there.
No, you could see it. I mean, he picked Kane over Rooney as well, which Jack says was questionable. I kind of understand it with Kane's goal scoring record.
I don't mind that so much.
Kane's played nobodies, man. Kane's played nobodies to get them goals. Rooney was playing for England when England were playing against the best in the world, and they weren't playing against nobodies. It was only towards the latter stage of Rooney's career they were playing against nobodies like Azerbaijan and guys like that, man. You know, Kane's got loads.
I get that argument, but I can understand why you would pick England's record goal scorer and captain.
I get it.
In that regard. I understand why you would do that, but Saka over Shearer, fucking hell, come on, man.
Yeah, that's not. I'm not having that. I'm not having that at all. I just think it was absolute nonsense. I think my camera's doing that weird thing it does with the light. Doesn't quite hit me again. So there we go. I'm back. I think it's my light going a bit funny there. But yeah, it is a bit of a weird move when you're talking about playing for the club where that guy is God. It's a little bit of a weird one, that. But Sandro Tonali, right? We've just talked about him. We've got our opinion on it, right? Liam Kennedy's got his opinion on it. Other journalists who I won't name have their opinion on it. But Marco Materazzi, who's probably more famously known for getting nutted by Zidane in the chest in the World Cup final. So I did say about it as well, actually. And now I remember being at St. James's Park where Craig Bellamy elbowed this guy in the face and got sent off. And he's always been a bit of a wind-up merchant. And I think Shearer smacked him with an elbow and put him on his arse and popped his nose or something. But I actually really respect Marco Materazzi for what he said here. So he's talking about Tonali, and he said Sandro Tonali can play in any team in Italy and England, but he has to decide if he wants to stay at Newcastle United because they believed in him. The city and the fans and the club believed in him and stuck by him. He has to think about that too, not just whether he could play for Arsenal, Liverpool, or Manchester United. I would like him to stay at Newcastle and build his legacy. Now, Italian footballers have, I think, kind of honour and loyalty and all that kind of thing has always been big for the Italian footballers. You think about Del Piero, Totti and Maldini, and all these players didn't leave the clubs that they were at despite getting offered all the money in the world to go play for Real Madrid's and Man United's and all these other teams. And I think what Materazzi's saying there, Mark, is, you know, Tonali kind of owes Newcastle a little bit for the way they supported him through what happened, you know, and there's a bit of truth in that, mate.
Yeah, I mean, he was supported right from the off. I mean, it was only a handful of games in before he was banned. Was it 8 games before he got his ban? Confirmed. And so
Milan knew that as well, by the way. Milan knew
I think they knew that was coming. But the club have stood by him. The club have helped him, and it's rare that I will go that a player owes people something, because in this modern world of football, I don't think anybody owes anybody anything.
No,
but I think there is a level of but I think where somebody has supported you in that way when you've gone through the darkest part of your career so far, that there is a little bit of a loyalty owed at that point. So I completely get what Materazzi is saying. It's funny because Materazzi has played for like about 17 different clubs, but I completely understand what he's saying. But it's I think there is an element of this, because I do think that Newcastle could have washed their hands with him and gone, do you know what? You've ruined this yourself. We're going to look for the first opportunity to actually move you on, because you've left a really sour taste in the mouth from this. But they didn't. They stuck by him. They trained. They supported him with his issues and got
and
back to. Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at the reception that he got. So yeah, I think that there is an element of loyalty that is owed at this point. I think, but I don't think we'll see it.
No, absolutely not. Well, the biggest news in football this week, to be fair, you know, we can't get away from not talking about this, and it was Mo Salah's announcement. We kind of knew it was all coming. Mo Salah's announcement that he was stepping away from Liverpool at the end of the season. Now, no matter what the current incarnation of Mo Salah has played like. This guy's been one of the best footballers that's ever graced the Premier League. He's been absolutely phenomenal. World class, gets thrown around really easily. This guy's been world class. He's been a scourge of our football team and everyone other people's football team for season after season after season. And he's been brilliant for Liverpool. What has he got, Mark? He's got over 200 odd goals or something like that. He's been phenomenal for them. I mean, they probably should have sold him last summer. Probably, in all fairness, it maybe kept a little bit too long. There's been spats with the manager and stuff like that. But obviously, from our point of view, I suppose the talks of who's going to replace him is already there. Gordon's name has been linked quite heavily, and I can kind of see that happening as well, to be brutally honest with you. But just a little word on Mo Salah, Mark. I mean, what a player that kid's been for the Premier League, man.
I mean, yeah, 255 goals and 122 assists in 435 games for Liverpool is a phenomenal record. He's close to 200 Premier League goals. Like, for a player that's not a centre forward, it's a phenomenal record that he's got. He's probably been the standout player over the last, what's he been in the league for, 10 years nearly? When did he sign for Liverpool? It was 2017. So it's 9 years now. He's such a player. And I agree. I think they probably should have moved him on last year but I think
that's a great comment. He's had a terrible season. His numbers are still better than our wingers.
He has been. You're right. He's been absolutely dreadful in comparison to his normal years. But he's still got 5 goals and 6 assists in 22 games. Like, it's unreal that you can be that shit. And
do you like that comment from Cushy? I bet he would play on the fucking right wing for Liverpool. Yeah, I don't think he'd have any arguments then, would he?
But I my thought with that is, if he was to go, he would switch left, and they would bring somebody else in on the right hand side.
Probably would. Probably Jared Bowen, probably
above Gakpo or someone like that. Like,
yeah.
But yeah. I mean, what a player. I mean, it's sad to kind of see the decline, but in that regard. But yeah, what a player he's been.
Does he make your all-time Premier League team?
Yes, I think he does now.
You have to put him in now, don't you?
I think for what he's done and for the number of goals and assists and what he's meant, because he's got the title, because he's got, I think yes. I think you'd be daft to not put him in.
How quickly can you list your Premier League team then? Right, Schmeichel in goal. Schmeichel in goal.
Yes.
Gary Neville right back.
Yes, over check. Neville right back. I would go Terry and
Rio Ferdinand for me.
Ashley Cole left back.
Ashley Cole left back. I'm going for that. Yeah.
Midfield
3.
You test me now. I would have Shearer and Henry up front. Salah on the right.
Henry on the left. Shearer through the middle.
I'm tempted to go Giggs over Ronaldo on the left hand side, with a 2 in midfield of probably Vieira and
Gerrard
and Roy Keane. Gerrard, Lampard. I think I'd go Vieira and Keane for that solid.
I'd go 4-3-3, and I would go Keane, Vieira, Gerrard in midfield, and I'd go Shearer in the middle, Henry at the left, and Salah to the right. That's my.
Can't argue with that.
That's pretty good. Your Marcus is with you. Giggs on the left. Giggs some player, by the way. And Stevie G, quite hard to beat. That's Pop Mag's some player.
Yeah.
Leo says, I did love your players. I just didn't love them when they kept winning all the time, Leo. That was the problem. And generally against us as well, which was the biggest problem. So yeah. All-time Premier League 100% for Mo Salah, says Dina. It is hard. It is hard to knock it back, isn't it? But God, that's a total different podcast for another day. One person who wasn't in the mood to talk about Mo Salah was Craig Bellamy at his Welsh press conference. And I love this. And you know, Craig Bellamy as a player was very vocal and a bit of like a wasp at a picnic for us. Irritating as fuck, but you loved having him in your team. But I think as a manager, he's been brilliant. So I hate it when journalists do this at press conferences. They ask about Premier League news and updates and all that. And they asked Craig Bellamy, obviously former Liverpool player as well, asked Craig Bellamy about what he thought about the news about Mo Salah. And just right quick and cold, he said, is he playing for Wales or Bosnia? And the guy went, no. And he went, well, I'm not talking about him then. And I just thought, you know what? That's a manager. I like the way he handled that. I really like that. But obviously, bad news for Wales. Big shout out to our mate, Di, who was at the game as well. Massive Welsh fan, huge Welshman. Devastated that Wales won't be at a World Cup this summer. Devastated for them. And the Irish as well, Mark, as well.
And
terrible result for them.
Two phenomenal moments in that game as well from the Welsh. One was Dan James's goal.
James' goal. Fuck, what a strike. What a finish.
The other was Carl Darlow's save.
He was good, Darlow, wasn't he?
Yeah. Look, that save is unbelievable. And they were done late on in the game. And he does let himself down because he comes for a ball he really shouldn't come to. Interestingly, I think both the Welsh and the Irish conceded their equalising goals in the 86th minute in both games, and then go on to lose. And it just it's tough luck, really. It's just the way that football goes. But they were very good at times. They lacked a cutting edge, I think. But I love that from Bellamy. I really do. I think that's just they're there for one reason and one reason only, and that's that qualifying semi-final. He's not going to talk about anything else. There's a time and a place for it.
I think the more that they shut these journalists ridiculous questions down, the less they'll ask them. But one team that is at the World Cup is England, and England are pulling the kind of stunt that England love to pull more than anybody else as well. So England were actually charged, England fans were charged £1.50 to print out their own tickets at home on their own printers with their own printer ink. Make that make sense to me, Mark. What in the name of fuck is somebody in the FA thought that is something that they even have the right to do? What is that about? I know it's like a booking fee, isn't it? But what is that about?
I think it's a case of anybody that's trying to sell tickets for anywhere. You make as much money as, I mean, how ridiculous. You see sort of £8 or £9 or £10 or even more booking fees for a ticket. There's no one fucking there doing it. There's no admin stuff for it because it's all done by a system. They're charging a ridiculous amount of money for you to press a button yourself, book a ticket yourself, for it to be electronically sent to you. And I get there's all the program and stuff that's got to be paid for, but to print your ticket, you charge for the the privilege of using your own fucking printer. Mint. Love it.
It just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Doesn't make any sense to me at all. But I tell you what is quite good. Roy is back. Roy Hodgson is back. This is an incredible story. So Roy Hodgson is back managing Bristol City 44 years after he was their manager. And I mean, what is Roy now? Is he 78 or something like that now? I mean, it's incredible to see him back in work. I just hope he's okay because he had a bit of a funny turn, didn't he, at Palace, health-wise. And I really hope that he's all right physically to do the job. He seems to be quite refreshed and kind of re-energized. So I wish him nothing but the best, Roy Hodgson, because he's been a good manager in football. He seems like a solid bloke as well, doesn't he? So I'm glad to see him back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that Hodgson was assistant manager at Bristol City before either of us were born. He then took over from the January, so that you weren't born at that point. Like it's ridiculous to think that we're now at this point in time where he's gone back to Bristol City at this age. And you're right, he's 78. And that's just incredible. And I hope he does. I hope he does all right.
I hope he does well, and I hope he stays well. Yeah. In all fairness, as well, which would be great. But
he's such a likable character, isn't he? So you do wish him well.
But unless you're Roberto Carlos, who still hasn't forgiven him for saying he wasn't a very good player, which he got that one wrong, Roy, to be fair. But anyway, everyone makes a mistake every now and again. But there was another, I wouldn't say another birth of a superstar. We kind of know this kid was around, but if you haven't seen this already, so Nico Paz scored this unbelievable left-footed free kick from about 25 yards for Argentina, which then drew glances of appreciation from a certain Lionel Messi. Now, this kid is a brilliant player. And not only that, he's a fucking handsome bastard as well, which isn't really fair. You know, I feel like he's been at the front of the queue on both fucking lines there, in all fairness. But what a player this kid looks, Mark. And Argentina look like they've got another superstar on the go there. I mean, is he at Madrid? He's on loan at a German club, or is it an Italian club? Is it Como?
He's on loan Como, yeah.
With
so he signed.
Yeah.
He signed from Madrid
Yeah.
to Como last couple of years ago, was it?
That's it. Yeah. He's been tearing that
He
league up,
signed.
hasn't he? So
He signed for next to nothing as well. I think it was around £4 or £5 million.
where were
You know,
we for these players, man?
well,
Where were we for these players?
where's half the world at this point? But I think he went when they were obviously newly promoted. But he's gone to play under Fabregas as well, which is a great grounding, I guess, for him to have a player of that caliber to
Remember what
learn
he said about
from.
number 10s as well. He loves number 10s. He loves
Yeah,
creative players, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? So the kid will thrive under him.
and I just think he will be. He's another one to just roll off that production line and just be very, very special. I think he's Spanish by birth, but Argentinian by nationality. But I mean, what a mix he's got there, really, hasn't he?
Jesus Christ. It's definitely in the genes, mate. It's definitely in the genes. What a phenomenal player. We've got a super chat in from Leo there saying, what do you guys think about De Zerbi going to Spurs? Is it enough to save them? Be interesting because De Zerbi's football, I liked it at Brighton. You know, they beat us obviously early in the season when he was Marseille coach. I think he's a very tactically astute manager. With 7 games to go, there's talented players in that Spurs squad, but I don't know whether they've got the appetite for it. But it's an interesting move, Mark. I mean, do you think you'll keep him up?
I think the way that he will go in will give them an immediate lift. They had to do it, and they had to do it now. If they were ever going to change it again, I think he just ticks them over the line.
Ooh, that's a big call. That's a big call.
It will be close, but I think he's the difference maker now. He will be the reason that they stay up.
The Zebedee blood. I don't know what's he gonna call De Zerbi. I can't wait to see what Expressions calls De Zerbi. He's got great nicknames for their managers. He's a comedy genius, that kid, one of the best content creators around. So I will miss his kickoffs if De Zerbi starts making the win, to be fair. Jeff thinks he's too volatile for Spurs. I have a feeling a lot of those players will not respond well enough, which is interesting because he is a bit of a live wire, De Zerbi, isn't he?
But I think initially that it kind of has the opposite effect, doesn't it? We've seen that with Keane. Keane has gone into clubs and you get an immediate bounce, an immediate lift from those players. And it doesn't work long term. So you may only last 18 months, but at least he will right the ship at this point in time. So he'll give them a shock, that shock value going in and making them perform. And then they start to lose a little bit of faith. So I don't think he'll last there for more than a couple of seasons.
No,
but I think he keeps them up. Yeah,
genuine Spurs lifespan. Well, going back to Lionel Messi, we talked about him before. Obviously, appreciative of Nico Paz's free kick, but he's obviously into Miami, and he's been there 5 minutes. He keeps scoring loads of goals, but he is the best player by a mile, even though he's like nearly 40. But Inter Miami have decided to name a stand after Leo Messi, which I think is the biggest load of fucking nonsense I've ever heard in my life. Now, I know they're just a brand new club that David Beckham's created on FIFA and then brought it into fucking real life. But, I mean, do yourself a favour, will you? I mean, yeah, I know he's one of the best players that's ever played football on the planet, and he probably is the best football player that's ever going to play football for your team. But I'm not buying that, Mark. Fuck off, man. What a nonsense celebrity shit club that is, man. I mean, I like Becks. I've got loads of time for Becks, but fuck off, man. You know, name it after somebody famous from Miami, or, you know, one of the founding forefathers of Miami, or, you know, I don't know, name it after Dexter Morgan or somebody who's synonymous with Miami or something like that. Fuck off, man. Don't name it after Leo Messi. I'm not having that shit. The Bay Harbor Butcher stand. That's what I'm going for. Fucking nonsense.
Genuinely, to name a stand after a player who's played less than 100 games for you.
Ridiculous.
He's just the most bonkers thing I think I've ever heard. And you're right, he scored a lot of goals.
Look what Vincent said there. The Tony Montana stand. Fucking Scarface, man. Give it that. Give it big licks. The Will Smith stand. He sang about Miami, didn't he?
He sang about it. He's not from there.
Well, he's still famous for singing about Miami. What is going on with his bloody light? That's true. What is going on? I
think it's a timer. When we get to about an hour and a half, your camera starts to go on the wane.
My camera starts to go weird, doesn't it? I'm just going to extreme close up of my hand there. There, oh God, it is got off. Hang on, I'm going to turn it on and off again very quickly. Hang on. No, I'm still fucked. Yeah, I think we should call it night. We should call it night. I think.
I think we're at that point, aren't we?
Yeah, one last story, then we will call it night.
Fair enough.
Going on my camera. One last story. So, former Leeds manager Marco Bielsa, massively loved by the Leeds United fans, even still to this day. I'm back. There you go. I'm in focus now. Even still to this day. And he was on the coach for the national team, the Uruguay national team, and he was met by nothing but appreciation and love from Leeds fans, which I think is class because he did such a great job for them and he gave them an identity. And I love the way he was living in like a fucking 1-bedroom apartment, and he used to go to Weatherby Costa Coffee in the mornings to do his tactics and stuff. And I've got a lot of time for Bielsa. I think he's a very unique character in football, isn't he? It's great to see the Leeds fans still loving him as they do, mate.
Yeah, how excited is the guy at the front, by the way?
Really? He must be a Leeds fan. See the bus driver? He's a bus driver. Hey, lads.
He's so happy, honestly. No, it is.
Lads on tour.
It is an interesting one. I think Bielsa's been much maligned as kind of Uruguay manager as well, hasn't he? They've kind of fallen out of love with him.
Funny over there, though, aren't they? South America, they're always very funny with managers.
But I loved seeing him back on the sideline, back sitting on his bucket. I just think it's just such an iconic view of him, isn't it?
Yeah, he's such a fucking class act, isn't he? But that's a great way to end it. And we will call night before my camera decides to go in sleep mode again. But thank you so much, guys, for everybody who's tuned in tonight. No Newcastle games, but still loads to cover, as we've all talked about there as well. And you guys help it flow with all the chat as well. So we always appreciate that. If you haven't already, remember, like and subscribe. Keep it evermore. Get us up to 13,000, which would be brilliant. And we'll have a nice prize to give away as well. We'll have some more member-only content coming soon. We'll have a few opinion videos going on as we lead up to Newcastle United's return back to the Premier League, which seems like ages away. But we will definitely bring you some content in the meantime.
Yeah, no, actually, I was going to say, I'm actually, it's weird. I used to like international weeks. I'm so bored without actual.
I hate them. I've always hated them and stuff.
As much as it wound us up this season at times, I am missing it.
Yeah, it does. You feel a bit lost without it, but I think we're all due with a fucking break, to be brutally honest with you. But thank you very much, guys. Keep it evermore. Keep tuning the channel. We'll have some videos to keep you all interested and all engaged until Newcastle United come back and spoil all our weekends again. No, sorry, they won't. They'll win games and they'll qualify for Europe. Let's hope that's what the plan is. But thanks for listening on Spotify. Thanks for watching on YouTube. Have a belter, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.
Take care, guys. See ya.
Celebrate. They have done it.